Okay, wanted to make this video for a long time. I've been desperate to make it. Now, this is a video about learning how to program in Python from all the way from A to Z. And well, no, not all the way to the end. Okay. It's the first time I've tried Python. Now, when people talk about Python, they immediately get into the programs, whatever they should. Okay. The reason I'm showing you this is to say, okay, let's say that I want to compare the S&P 500 index to the DAX in Deutschland. And then, oops, come on. Okay, I press a little button here and I get the DAX. And let's say I would like to also compare it en français, le CAC 40 ici. We can do it there. Okay, and the France, and then we can look at the IRRs and the volatilities. And let's say I want to do a much more important one, which is compare it to the S&P 500 index with dividends. And one of the reasons I do this is to show you that the difference between a 9% return and a 7% return is enormous. And the higher the rate of return, the bigger the difference. But let's say I want to go back a little bit further. Now, if I go back to 1961, I can see kind of what the returns have been. Here is but I shouldn't have done that because the one with the blah 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 blah. I can't get a word out right now. I'm trying to go fast. It only starts in 1988, so we changed the dates and put these dates in 1988, and you can see what kind of IRR you've made. Now, if you want to put this in real terms, let's put this with the U.S. CPI. And recalculate all of these returns in with real data after inflation, and you can see what kind of returns have been earned, and you can go to different kind of statistics and get this. And the reason I'm showing you this is I could not do this. Unfortunately, I used to be able to do this by going and using something called workbooks.open, going to the wonderful finance.yahoo website and getting the data. And now you have to do it with Python. Oh mon Dieu, les pauvres Français, mais in Deutsch, das ist ein bisschen besser. We can see the different returns for different periods. Now, let's do something else. Let's say, let's just go and do something else. Now, this for me, this S&P 500 with dividends is so much more important than the S&P 500. I heard some irritating idiot. Now I'm going to swear a little bit, but I'm not going to just call him an ass. Okay, who said, "Oh, I'm doing polls. I love the S&P 500." All these indices are kind of worthless because they don't show the true returns unless you include the dividends. Okay, and I'm doing this after inflation now, and this has been really impressive. Now, if I want to compare these dividends with the U.S. nominal GDP, again, I'm putting the U.S. nominal GDP in here, but then I'm adjusting it for inflation, and I'll show you all that. Oh, look how flat the GDP is. All these investors need a much, much higher return. Since 2006, it hasn't done very well. But this time, I really want to go back a little bit further. Okay, that's probably not quite far enough, but the GDP grows in real terms because I put nominal GDP and then I adjusted it. I'm doing this really fast. Again, this is what you can do by learning this time Python and HTTP, a way to get all the economic data, which you need the inflation rates to all adjust this with. And then, let's look at the poor kind of people like me who can't afford a car anymore because I make all my videos for free. And I really can. I'm buying a bicycle right today. After this video, I'm going to go pick up my bicycle. And the family income, or the IRR, the growth rate, the compound growth rate, or these people who talk about geometric and arithmetic returns make me vomit. These goddamn people. Everything is compound returns. Everything in finance is all compound returns. Whew, the volatility is a lot less, but this performance hasn't been very good. And then we can go down and compare this. And I want to show you, I'm doing this as fast as I can because I want to show you how we do it. How we do it. And when I'm going to show you how we do it, just a minute. I can't do two things at the same time. So let's look at the corporate after-tax profit. And when we do that, we look at oops, just a minute. I put the wrong one in here. I should have tried this. Let's put the, let's just go here and put the corporate profit in here. These data come from Federal Economic Reserve data. And what I wanted to show you is this bump up in the profit when the tax rate went down. I don't know what happened to the last one. Okay, it's all in real data. So this is kind of interesting. This tells you such a gigantic story. The true S&P 500 is a little bit bullshit. The true S&P 500 with dividends has grown at a real rate, not a nominal rate, of 7-8%. It's enormous. It is goddamn enormous. Much higher than the GDP. Oh, they're taking a hell of a lot more. The rich are getting richer because the median family income has only grown by this. Corporate profits have not grown nearly as fast, which means the cost of capital has come down. We can talk about all the other kind of, try to talk fast like these finance people who make things so complicated and everything else. But, so that's enough of that. But we can then, let's look at the Mag 7. So we go to Python and get the stocks, and then you can just let's look at how about Microsoft, okay? And Microsoft, if you're lucky enough to invest in Microsoft over a long time, it's just kept going up. There was this big decline after COVID, way after COVID. You would have invested one and you've got 573. Oh my God, okay. And that's a return of whatever, 18%. Microsoft started in 86. Let's start in 87. There's the 2001 thing. And you would have earned a 19% return, which is absolutely incredible. But let's compare that to Apple and see how much return you would have made on Apple. And then is Apple only 17%, but that's that's the biggest company. But then, of course, if you start at a different point, let's start just before the bubble, and then we have Apple growing at 27%. My God. So whenever you kind of look at these returns and look at these stock prices, it all depends on where the starting point is. So if we started in whatever 2022, is that before the dip or after the dip? Apple would have given you a return of 4%, a little bit before 8%. So what kinds of, I love this to talk about the cost of capital, how much volatility, why is the volatility so low with Apple? I don't know. And then you got the betas, okay, which look at the difference in betas, but let's then put Tesla in here, okay? And Tesla's kind of got a little bit more of a volatility. You would have made -9, but if we go to 2016 or something, then we can see kind of how it's gone up and down. This is all monthly data, okay? And whatever, we can put in Facebook. That's one of the Mag 7. Oh my gosh, Facebook, they started in 2012. So let's go back to 2012 and start playing around with this, okay? And enough of that. And NVIDIA, okay, well, that's going to make our graph all distorted. And now you can also get, this is all based on monthly data that goes back a long time, and we can get weekly data, or we can also get daily data. So we're going to show you how to get all of that stuff. Google, I like Google because when you do a Google search, sometimes my stuff goes pretty high, but I can't even see them because of NVIDIA and because of Tesla. Okay, so let's play around with this. Now, the other thing is, so if I look here, Google 16%, they all had an incredibly high return. And that's why les pauvres gens en français, oh my gosh, they didn't earn quite the same return. Look at the old S&P 500 down there. Okay, so we can again go, where's the false to all? Uh-oh, there, it just disappeared for a minute. I don't know why. I made this crap over many years, and I want to emphasize these assholes. Sorry, I shouldn't have said. They're very nice people. They make videos and they say, oh, let's get into Python and let's put Python into Excel so we can do all of our graphics and all that stuff in Python. It's the opposite for me. I want the stuff in Excel. You can do all this crap in Excel. Probably you have done some of it, and you can make all the graphs fancy with offset or NA. That's another subject. I want the data in Excel. But nowadays you can't get it from Yahoo.finance, which is Yahoo.finance. Just incredible, because when they give you one of these stocks, so let's look at ExxonMobil, okay? These bad people. Who was that man from ExxonMobil said there's no such thing as global warming? Oh, it only has grown by 4%. And if we go, let's go back. ExxonMobil started in 85, so let's go to 86 and see how it's done over the long run. It's doing pretty well over there because of the old days. But then if we start in like 2006 or something, how about we start in 2006 and put that in? And then there's the return, only 4%. It's a little bit lower than S&P 500. I guess let's put another oil company in here. Okay, where's Chevron? Oh, a little bit more. Where's Shell Oil? I'm not sure if I took Shell Oil in London or whatever. Shell Oil, 3%. Oh, the bad people. They're investing too much in renewable energy, those bad people at Shell. Okay, and then let's compare all that to the oil price. So where's the oil price? I put this down here. Okay, the oil price is down here. Okay, so now let's talk about how we're going to get this data. Okay, so, and it's too busy, that graph. So, it really is a little bit, making a graph for me is a big deal. So there's which one is which. Shell Oil, 3%. Oil price has negative beta. Who cares that the oil price went down? We're doing this all in real terms. We're adjusting this for inflation, and for Shell, we're adjusting it for dividends. And I suppose we should really compare that, instead of just the S&P 500, we should compare that to the S&P 500 with dividends, because we're using in finance.yahoo.com this thing called the adjusted share price. So Shell Oil didn't do very well. Shell Oil has a relatively low beta, even though it's got a pretty low volatility too, I guess, but then if we just look at this kind of here, which one is the oil price? The oil price is this yellow one and this one. This is the kind of stuff you can do. Let's do one more thing. Let's compare the oil price to the natural gas price. Okay. And we can do all of that. The natural gas price is probably this blue one. We have two different blue ones. That's kind of come down because of all the shale gas, and I don't know, we could try to do some kind of correlation. We could do all kind of studies. And the way we do this is we stick I'm going for the back. We stick all of this. I wanted to compare Boeing to whatever, Airbus and all that. Okay, I'm not going to do any of that. And you get all of the data. You get all this data in time series form, and you get as much data as you can possibly get. And then after we put all the stock prices in, with Amazon, I was messing around with this. We put all the GDP data in here, and it's not as beautiful. The data isn't in beautiful form, but it's always in time series form. And in column A, we always have the year. And then once we have the year, this is just Excel crap. Once we have the year, and I go through a lot of this stuff here, I tried to make this a whole, very, very transparent, where you kind of you use the blah, 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 lookup and together with the indirect, a big deal using the indirect function. And over in a blue thing here I got Shell Oil and all that stuff, and I go way back to the 1920s in monthly form. We'll do it in daily later on, and then you start getting the data, and there are adjustments you have to make for the data, and those come directly. If it's indirect, it comes directly from this thing called S&P or Shell Oil and all that. That's where we put all the data. Okay, enough of that. Okay, and then you define which stocks you want to, and this is the multiple graph. By the way, you can expand this graph here a little bit and then reset the size of the graph. You can look at all this VBA stuff, all VBA stuff. Here's beta. If I wanted to look really at, instead, I'm going to take this thing out here, and I think it'll make a graph of the Shell Oil versus the S&P 500, and we'll get one of these scatter plots, and we'll get whatever the beta, which is, I use this to argue against beta sometimes. And beta is a little bit of a definition of risk, clearly, but there's a hell of a lot of other stuff. Okay, and I use this very much to talk about how much you really should expect what your IRR, this is like an equity IRR. If you're making a solar project and you think you're going to get a 15% IRR like Microsoft or something over a really long period, you're in fantasy land, I think. But whatever, you can argue with me and yell at me, and that's what I want to be provocative in my stuff when I teach nowadays. I say, I want to be provocative. I want to say things that are going to piss you off. Okay, and then here we go. Here we go. So I want to get these indices. That's when I started comparing, the whatever, the Deutsch DAX, was ist das? Okay, and Indonesia and Nigeria and Taiwan or China. Oh, we got to do China for a minute. Okay, we just press false to all. This time, I think these indices, you got to go to Google and read what's really, really in the indices and where they include dividends. I think they don't. And that's what seems to be in the news these days. And let me take that off here for a minute. Oh, shit. I've got to see what I did here. Just a minute. I'm going to pause and fix that right now. Okay, here's how I'm going to fix it. I didn't read it in properly. Okay, so we're going to read in all of the stuff. And now, so I go over here, and again, I'm doing this quickly because I want to get to the Python. Okay, and this is going to be an extremely long video. Maybe I'll have to divide it into a couple of parts. Okay, whatever. Now, when I make my video about programming this stuff and getting this data into Excel, I'm going to go really slowly. This stuff in Excel, I'm going quickly. Okay, but how we get the data in, for me, is the big trick. And that's changed so dramatically from the old days when it was so easy. Okay, and here, so I said, well, here, oh, these are the charts, okay. And then where's the one where Yahoo Stocks, Yahoo Index, and Fred Series. We have just 3 ways to get data. Fantastic that Yahoo Stocks, you can just get all of these stocks. You can get them with monthly data, weekly data, daily data. You can get it minute by minute, but I didn't really do that. I'm not trading. God, I'm way too poor. I don't have any money. And you can go and get all these different indices. So I put this here, but in the blue area, that's where we're going to read the data in, and that's in the we can read in for all these stocks, and then just pick all the stocks, and you can see how I arranged the whatever. I did some little thing that's not really very elegant to read this, and then we go to Fred, Federal Reserve FRED, Federal Reserve Economic Database, where they have amazing amounts. If you can get things from Yahoo and Fred and just a couple of others, that's it, I think, for getting data. So how do we get this data? And I'm going too slowly because maybe I'm just a little bit afraid. So let's get the data for and watch this screw up. Okay, let's get the data for the Yahoo. Okay, so here's what we do. I go through here and I say, clear all the data series. I'm getting rid of everything. And the way I do this is a tiny little macro, a little bit of VBA. And now if I go all the way to the end, they're all gone. Woo, too bad. Okay, and then after we do this, I'm going to this one now. So I'm going to read all the indices. And I click on this, and this is where Python comes in, because I'm repeating myself, I used to be able to do it a little differently. So what you do is you click on this, and it's a VBA code. And that VBA code goes, and then I make a little picture, and the VBA code is now going and running a Python program. And I put a little pauses here and tell you if you're really reading in all these tickers correctly. And then it says it's getting data for the GSPC, all of this. And it takes all that data, sticks it into a spreadsheet. Okay, and that's the big thing I really, really wanted to do. And I'm going to show you this very slowly, step by step, because here's how I'm going to do it. It pisses the hell out of me watching these other videos where they go real fast. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, look how easy it is. Bullshit, it's not easy. And then I'm putting all the stuff out. And then finally, so I get this other spreadsheet. It just collects all the data. That's what you can do in Python. And then after that, now after the break sheet, it put all this data in. Don't you want to learn how to do this? And don't you want, instead of these other people who go really fast and are so smart, much, much smarter than me, they go through and do that really fast. And I'm going to get rid of the damn Chinese one. I hope I just read it in. Let me see. I might have missed the very last one here. And then I'm going to have to go fix it. It's a typical mistake. Yes, I made this goddamn mistake. I'm going to fix it. Okay. But I'm going to switch the video off to fix it because it's typical. So that gets to my theme. I'm going to tell you all the mistakes I made. I try to watch these videos and I try to copy them, and every time I made a mistake, and it took me forever. And I'm going to go through slowly and tell you, okay, here are the mistakes I made. So unlike these other videos that blah, 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 I'm going to show you, here's the mistake I made in downloading the Python. Here's the mistake I did in reading the Python libraries. Here's the mistake I made in trying to get things from Excel. Here's the mistake I made in these thing called data frames. Here's the mistake I made in making a little do loop in Python. Here's every mistake. It's going to take a long time because I made so many mistakes. And then I'm going to also show you, okay, we can do the same thing with stocks. I can just read in all these stocks, but that's going to take a little bit. And then I'm going to go through these Fred series. Now, Fred was a little bit better because instead of using Python, you can still use read the data directly into Excel. And that's incredibly much better because I don't then have to show you, if you want to run this file, you're going to have to go out and install Python. And I'm going to have to give you a Python program, and you're going to have to put the Python program in the right place so it reads correctly, and then do all of that. So that's how we read the data. And then once we read the data from that, we've got all that stuff, and then we read all the economic data, and then we can play with it, put it into divide it out by the whatever I can put it in real terms. I can adjust the DAX for the euro to the US exchange rate because DAX will be in euro, and I'm not going to do that right now because I'm a little afraid to, and then you can do all of that sort of stuff in Excel. Okay, I'm sorry, I've got some references here, but this walks through step by step how you compute the IRRs, compute the volatilities, compute the betas, and you can do that all by hand and really kind of understand what it's all about. Look at that beta for the DAX versus the DAX versus the S&P. Okay, now I'm going to pause. Okay, this again is just an introduction. I'm going to go through this slowly. It might take hours. I don't know, and I've got a plane to catch because I'm going to go to India, and I'm going to destroy the environment by CO2. I'm going to so I'm going to go through this slowly. This is so if we go back to this one, okay? So if you remember, what I did was I read this. And the way this works is you make a little macro. Again, I'm going to go through this totally slowly. And you have to define something called a object shell. I have no idea what that really does, but I define a workbook, and I have to do some initial work to work with the file and delete some of the stuff. This is all in VBA. Okay, and then I delete some of the sheets so I can restart. And then I go through this thing here. This is the big thing. I make a path to the Python. I go to this, and now I'm running in old-fashioned DOS, which I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to take this and run this thing called python.exe and run a little Python program. That's what I'm going to do. Now, I thought I had made the error up here, so there's a lot of work to do in VBA, and I'm going to go through this all slowly. I might even show you how I do all these silly user forms and all that stuff. And then I have to go to the Python. And if in the Python, I was messing around and I read how many stocks I'm going to get. And this is a big one, and I didn't waste time. I think it's not so bad, but I'm going to read 17 different ticker symbols with just a count A. Okay, and then in Python, I'm going to read that 17 in and then go around a loop. And when you go around a loop, then you got to look at this thing. And the first time I would have seen this, I would go, oh my God, what the hell is this doing? But here's the big deal. This gigantic advantage of Python is hacking data and getting data. Now, finance.yahoo seems to allow you to get the data, although I paid for the data. I'm going to explain that a little bit later. So this is all free. Everything is free here so far. Okay, and everything is free with this whole thing now. And then you basically read in how many, you go up here and you kind of read in somewhere up here. You read in whether you want to do this on a monthly basis or weekly basis or daily basis. You read in how many rows, and that's in row number 6 and column number 4, 6 and 4. So we figure out a way to read in this stuff, 6 and 4, because 4 is the column and 6 is the row. 6 column and 4 row. How do I do that at the same time? I don't know. Okay. And then we read it from some Python file called index tickers. That's what I named this Python file. It's like a VBA little code. Well, yeah, they're all the same. They're all the goddamn same. And why can't they just, whatever, do it just in one go? But who cares? You have to say Python. And then one thing I really like about Python is they named it after Monty Python in England. And there's this wonderful skit, which doesn't come out as one of the famous skits. It's the Olympics of hide and seek that took 8 hours, 8 years, I don't know, 9 months, 16 hours, and how many seconds, and it turned out to be a tie. It's a wonderful skit. And they, whatever. And what did I do here? I just ran something and made an error. So now I just fixed this. So the rows, I made a mistake and I subtracted one row. And this is what I'm going to show you, how I make stupid errors like this. And I was screwing around with this. And then instead of going for I equals 1 to total rows, which is 17, you have to do this little range business. God knows why. Okay, but they named that after the Monty Python, so that's good. You can run it from here. And I'm not going to. Well, yes, I'm going to. Okay, if I run it from here, it goes and just runs it, and I put a little pause in here, and so you can run it and see. But I didn't close the file, so it gave me all those errors. So I have to close the file and reopen it. A typical kind of goddamn unbelievable, the amount of hours I wasted in the plane doing this crap. That's why I want to show you how to make the errors. And nobody tells you when they say, oh, I can do this. I can go to finance. What they call the library you have to get. It's like going to a library book and ordering a library book called Why Finance. And that's so magically when you import this, I'm going to explain what all that crap is so you can try it yourself. Okay, I'm not an expert in Python, and if somebody makes a comment, you idiot, you didn't do this right, that would be great. I would love that, actually. So instead of doing it from here, I'm going to go to my Excel. Right now, remember, I deleted everything. And I'm going to run the Python program from here. And when I run it from here, it deletes the file. That's why that file didn't work. It goes through and deletes the file. I'm rerunning it. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. So I'm going to now, whoops, oh no. Okay, let's put this, and now it's reading the stocks, and let's look at the last one. Let's look at the last one. When I got this to read, oh, the joy of that. It's hard to describe the ecstasy of getting this data in. And then, of course, then I made so many mistakes after that, but whatever. Then the final ecstasy of getting this back into Excel. And this time, let's look and see what happened. So I just changed that little Python thing, and oh, I read it in twice. And oops, I put it in kind of backwards. Indonesia, Seoul, Nikkei, Nigeria, Taiwan, Straits Times, and shoot. Now, I had made a mistake just now. I didn't even show you this mistake, because what I'm going to do is just tell you about my mistakes. Because if I showed you every mistake I made, it would take many, many, many hours. And what I didn't do is when I went to this place where you get the Python, I didn't save it. I didn't go file and save. And how would you remember how to do that? Okay, and I'm not going to do the running here, which shows some errors, which we'll talk about in another video. Now, what I'm going to do is just make a whole bunch of videos. I'm going to spend all day making videos, basically, today. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Okay, so then let's go over here, and now we've read in all the indices. I can make this a little bit smaller. We've read in all the indices, blah, 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 Nigeria. Oh! No, I haven't. There it is. Why did it go to the end this time? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. But there it is. Finally, I got it in. I got to understand what I just did, why it went to the end. Maybe I'll run it again. And now let's put the SSE composite, which I really don't even know what it is. And finally, and stop recording. Okay, I made another mistake. This is typical. And I don't know if you can see the time on my computer or anything else, but it took me a long time. And what I had to do is change this thing, and when I read in the number of tickers, I got the sheets off by 1, so I have to put how many sheets we count, and then go to total total number of sheets, and that's one extra because I put one extra in that I'll try to explain later. So now let's try one more time. Oh, it's probably not going to work, and I'm going to start swearing. I'm going to start swearing a lot in just a minute. I'm too old for this. My heart's racing. I'm going to have a heart attack. Okay, no, my son said I'm okay. Okay, so I still have some Excel left in me. Okay, and now Python. Okay, so we go in and read all the files again, once again. Oh my gosh, but this is so realistic. I can't even tell you. Now, when I do the rest of this, again, if I would tell you how long I did everything. Oh, look, it ended with this. And I forgot to fix something. Oh, shoot, I'm going to do this one more time. Okay, I had put a little exit sub in here because I was just testing things out. Okay, one more time. I think I'm going to switch to, I'm going to pause this because. Okay, I'm devastated psychologically. I really am. I finally got it to work. And it's just this one little thing is just the absolute perfect example of why I am going insane. Okay. And I just lost it with, God, I got to listen to my family bicker about shit. And then oh, fuck. And so here's what I'm just going to explain what I finally did and what you might have to do. Okay, we clear the sheets. Again, I'm going to run it one more time. You should switch the stupid thing off. But this time, what I did is I went into and I made like 20 mistakes before I did this. I was just saying, I'll never finish this stupid video. Okay, we're reading the files in again, blah, blah, blah. This time I'm not so happy about it even. Okay, I'm so sick of it. Okay, and then and then I said the code is finished, and then I put little message boxes. I never use this stupid debug shit. Yeah, I put little, this says there are 18 sheets, which is right because there's one initial sheet. And then we go through each sheet and we see, is it actually reading it? And the biggest exciting one is not this one, not this one, not this one, not this. That one. Ooh, finally I got it to read. Okay. And then I have to move sheets from the Python creates an output file. And then I have to move the sheets. And it finally moved this stupid one. And then I know, okay, it's fine. And I made about 6 different mistakes, starting in the wrong place, ending in the wrong place before I did this. So now what I'm going to do is go back to the little VBA code and try to remember all these little pieces of crap that I put in. That's why I have all these little message boxes. This green one, it looks like a complete mess, but I kind of leave it. This is the one I should have counted the sheets instead of using because I've got this one extra sheet, which I think I need. I hope I didn't do this all wrong. It could be all wrong. You could maybe do this yourself. And now I'm taking these all out. And I think I'm not going to rerun it again because we can look and see what happened in here to the, let's just take the kann bist fertig mit die DAX, and then here we've got only a 0.58 beta between them, and we had some gigantic kind of in 2006. But let's get rid of that kind of almost speculative bubble that Mr. Dr. Farmer, Nobel Prize winner, would say, oh, that's not correct. And then we have 2.8%. Okay, from here, but let's go a couple of things here. All right, and that's okay. Whatever. It's the index kind of didn't go up by very much. Okay, so that's that. The implications and the discussion, and that's a different story. Whether you believe that an economy is efficient because they're taking and their stock price is increasing a lot more than the GDP, that's a whole nother philosophic and kind of really, really interesting issue. And whether that can really occur forever and what happens, why is this PE ratio increasing when you look at the corporate profits versus the indexes and all that. Okay, so there are a lot of issues in this one, and I'm just going to stop the video now. Okay, and why can't I even stop it? Oh, there. Okay.